So black start with French defense, and white chose to exchange the center pawn. So we have French defense exchange variation, c4, knight f6. Knight c3, white has developed knight and attacking d5. This is a book move, and bishop e6. Well, I would say the most common move is bishop b4 to develop bishop and pinning the knight, so we can castle as soon as possible. And bishop e6. So this move, first of all, the bishop is in between the pawns, which has a limited space, and also the b7 could be a weakness. So maybe white can attack b7 at some point. Yeah, this is what white did. But queen to b3 is maybe not the best move for this moment, because it looks black can place knight to c6, attack d4. If you take my pawn, I can take a d4 pawn and attacking knight c2. And it's really hard for white to do anything about it. If bishop to d3, black can take this pawn, and black can win 2 pawns. So white b3, we can play knight c6. Okay, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't see any point why didn't white take the b7 pawn. We take the c4 bishop. We trade bishop and c6. Strengthening d5. Castle. Rook e7. Bishop with castle. Okay, so I think this is a very balanced position. White has an isolated pawn, but it's a center pawn, and black can control the d5. This is an outpost for the knights. It's better to connect knights at center, and hopefully black can trade dogs with bishop, because the f4 bishop is better than the e7 bishop in regards of the range. So knight b6, yeah, that's quite good. Develop the knight to d5. Queen to b6. Well, I'm thinking I will play bishop to d6 to trade the bishop, because as I said, the dark square bishop, the g3 bishop is better than us. Or otherwise, I maybe move the bishop to f6 instead to attack d4. So this is a weakness. Queen b6. I hope the queen is aimed at b2. And rook to e8. Well, I would say bishop f6 is something we can consider. And if we have to move the rook at e8, I would definitely choose the f8 rook. Because if I move the a8 rook, I cannot really move my f8 rook. So thinking about how to coordinate the 2 rooks in the best way, I would move the f8 to e8, and then maybe the a8 to d8 or to c8. Okay? So we can have some flexibility in piece development. Knight e5, bishop d6, queen g4. So white wants to attack the king side, and we take the pawn, but that's a blunder, because after knight c4, that's a fork. We'll lose a bishop, and white didn't do that. White played knight d7, and we'll trade the pieces. Okay, so after all the piece exchange, so black has lost a rook, but win a knight and a pawn. So white, 2 pawns. So when it comes to piece value, I think both sides have the same value. And white is slightly better because the 2 rooks are a bit better than a knight plus 2 pawns. But it really depends how white utilize pieces. The d5 knight is really strong at the center. And knight c3, attack the rook, and then we'll win another pawn. Rook h3, rook a1. So I feel like, the 2 rooks are if we want to utilize the double rooks in a good way, we need to connect them. So in this case, white move the 2 rooks one at h3, another at a1. These 2 cannot collaborate, so that's a problem. And I feel like we can probably, rook queen d6 is a good check, and then we can play d5 to protect knight and protect c6. Rook d8, rook c8. Yeah. We're under attack. c5. Well, can we just push the pawn? We have a passed pawn, right? Can we just push the pawn? because the rook cannot really move to b1 because we have a fork. So I would just push a pawn to distract the rook and being active. c5, well, this move is a bit shaky because the pawn is pinned actually. We cannot really take the d4. Our rook is hanging. So for example, after rook d5, we might end up lose a pawn. So yeah, taking the pawn is not a smart strategy for white. Okay, so how about queen b4? Is the knight... I feel like queen b4, the knight is pinned. And if we have queen knight b7, check, the e4, there's a fork. So black is losing pieces. But white hasn't found this solution. White found a way to win a pawn. And white is still better, slightly better. Check. White doesn't want to get a draw, so it pushed the pawn to g3. That makes sense. Okay, so white won another pawn. So if black can get a draw, that's a very good outcome. But let's see. Queen f5, aiming at h3. These two pieces collaborate really well. Rook f4, check, king to g1. f3. This is quite balanced. I think if that's a draw, I won't be surprised. g5, h5. Okay, I'm happy to see that black is really trying to be active here, threatening g4, because we have this diagonal. Rook e4, g4. Okay, queen 2 is a bad move. I think the best move is move the king. Make it like avoid being like aimed at this diagonal. Knight g5 is a really good move. That's very impressive. And we attack like two pieces, and the white cannot do anything about it. Okay, that's a fork, and we win a queen. Queen d2. Okay, win the rook. Yeah, awesome. That's really good. How we utilize like tactics. Oh, that's a really intensive game. Okay, so I think black is fighting really hard, and it's very impressive to win in the end.